So this is either one of the most underrated Father's Day films ever made, or one of the most depressing adaptations of a father-son relationship ever filmed on screen. And it kind of goes back and forth, let me tell you, throughout the runtime. This is my third viewing of Ad Astra, and I still absolutely love it. The first time I watched it, I completely fell in love with it. The storytelling, along with the lure of the cinematography and everything that's going on with it, to me was absolutely extraordinary. Yeah, especially for a film starring Brad Pitt, as well as having Tommy Lee Jones and Donald Sutherland in it, you would think that it would be like a Star Wars spectacle or something like that, or some big ass sci-fi film, but it's really not. It's one of the most soft art house, really dramatic, very psychological drama films that I've ever seen, and I got it on 4K. Although I've never been able to see it on 4K, I've only been able to see it on Blu-ray so far. It would be one hell of a film to watch on like IMAX or something like that, especially because it takes a lot of reminiscence to Gravity and The Martian with its cinematography and its background and lore. So it has a lot of that going on with it, but story wise, it's much deeper and much more specific and dramatic, and the narrative is just so much more intelligent than just what it seems to be on the surface, kind of thing. And I absolutely loved it right from the start. The first act and the third act of this film is some of the best filmmaking I've seen. This could easily be one of my favorite films of 2018 when it came out. But every time I revisit it, it just gets better and better, and I kind of see more and more of it because it's a film that you really want to see the dialogue on, and you really want to dissect the dialogue on because of what happens throughout, because it's certainly a journey film. But getting more into the synopsis, speaking of, you basically have Brad Pitt playing Roy McBride, and he's a longtime astronaut who is at the beginning of the film sent to a very tall antenna to fix a satellite, I'm pretty sure. And there happens to be an accident, and a lot of astronauts, fall back down to Earth because this is just on the brink of the solar system, or the edge of the Earth. I mean, like the ozone layer just before you reach into non-gravity of space, and he's up there fixing stuff, and the accident happens, and there's a scene where he kind of puts it together and he falls right back down to Earth, and he has like the parachute and everything, but the way that he's falling and everything in the background, and the way that it's pretty terrifying to watch, and it's pretty breathtaking to watch. And part of the plot is the fact that he can maintain his cool in these situations, and he's one of the best astronauts or space technicians, you could say, or whatever his position is in the film. He's an astronaut, but beginning of the film, I mean, just how he's able to keep his cool and handle these situations perfectly, where his heart rate is like significantly lower than a lot of astronauts that would be in the same situation. And because of this, they send him on an expedition to Mars, because this is in the near future. The moon has already been semi-colonized, and there's commercial flights to the moon already, and Mars is basically another space station to study the solar system and beyond. So it doesn't say exactly what year this takes place, but it's in the near future enough where we have already been to Mars, and Mars is like a working place kind of thing. And Roy's father, Clifford McBride, played by Tommy Lee Jones, he was sent on an expedition 30 years prior to Neptune, and his mission was to explore extraterrestrial life and see if there's life beyond or in our solar system or beyond our solar system. And he went off on a Lima project and he disappeared mid through. So Brad Pitt's character Roy kind of never had his father around, other than video chatting and videos that have been sent back to Earth from this Lima project that he took off on. So at the beginning of the film, they sign up Roy, played by Brad Pitt, to travel to Mars to send a message to his father, because there's these massive gamma rays that are being shot to Earth, and it's creating a lot of havoc on Earth and on the moon, and all kinds of disasters are happening, including this accident that happens at the beginning of the film. And because Roy fits the best structure to be sent on this mission, and because it's Clifford's son, he is sent to Mars to deliver this message to his father to see what the hell's going on Neptune. So, like I said, the opening scene is breathtaking. The entire cinematography in this film is breathtaking. I absolutely love every minute of it. Of course, they cover up the reason why Roy is going to Mars, because everything is covered up. They make, a story that he's just going to a conventional flight to the moon, to not create panic. Governments don't want to create panic for many reasons, but that's said immediately right at the beginning of the film. So he's going to a conventional flight to the moon, when in reality he's going to Mars to send a message to his father. So there's that cover story. And there's a lot of questions that arise with Roy's father, played by Tommy Lee Jones, because he literally vanished, and there's a huge tension and relationship right off the bat between Roy and Clifford. And you don't even see Clifford until the end, like the third act of the film. The third act of the film is when he comes in, but right from the get-go, you know that there's something going on with Roy, because Roy's never really had a father outside of screen time, like I said. And there's a lot of narration to this movie, which I don't like all the time. I think it's overdone. That's one of the negatives that I have about Ad Astra, is that there's too much narration by Brad Pitt. There's like way too much of it. I would appreciate some of it, especially if it happened towards the end of the film. But throughout the beginning right to the end, it's just narration after narration after narration. And I thought it got a little bit overdone. But you really get a character study of Roy and his relationship with his father, and his relationship with his wife/girlfriend, and his co-worker relationships, and just who he is as a person. And it gets really in depth, and as well as him, you also start to wonder about, where did his father go? Because he kind of disappeared mid flight to Neptune, and then that kind of connection has been broken even more. But you're kind of asking questions all the way through. But he gets to the moon with Donald Sutherland's character, and Donald Sutherland's character is also an older guy who worked with Clifford, which is Roy's father, and he starts to kind of hint on the fact that the company that Roy works for, which is called Spacecom, can be a little sketchy, which we kind of know things are getting there right from the beginning. But then he kind of, once they get to the moon, Donald Sutherland has an accident, and he's just like, he gives Roy something, and he's like, just be careful, just watch out for the company, because the things don't always seem as they might be, and it's true. It's one thing I found cool about the moon setting is that it's colonized, and it's colonized by different countries, and there's a lot of pirating going on. So there's a lot of pirating and smuggling going on the moon, using like dune buggies and stuff like that between different countries, and smuggling from one to the next. And it's kind of a dangerous area, and I found that really interesting, because I kind of asked myself what would it be like if the moon started to become colonized in a way that many countries were stationary there, and what would it be like? What would the laws be like? What would the crime be like there? Would there be crime? You know what I mean? So I found that aspect really interesting, how they brought that into the film. And on Roy's journey from the moon to Mars, it kind of gets rocky because he has to be protected, kind of thing, because there's obstacles along the way onto the rocket from the moon to get to Mars, kind of thing. So there's all these stepping stones throughout the film that I found really interesting. One in particular that I really want to talk about, because this is a spoiler review, and it's in between the moon to Mars. There's a scene that plays out like an action horror. And honestly, if I was directing this film, I would say that this film is absolutely spot on perfect cutting that scene out. Because I don't understand what this scene brings to the film. I don't understand why this scene is there. I don't understand why it needs to happen. I don't understand why, other than bringing a horror aspect or an action aspect or a thriller aspect to the audience, why it has to be there, because a lot of it makes no sense. A lot of it is very kind of cheesy and just there to be horror. It's literally like you take Titanic, like the film Titanic, and you have Titanic play out, and then right in the middle of Titanic you have 30 seconds of Mad Max, and then right back to Titanic. So like Titanic, 30 seconds of Mad Max, back to Titanic. That's how this scene feels to me. And I just kept asking myself, why is it there? It's a scene where they get onto the, I believe it was a Norwegian ship, and everybody's dead on board, and there's these monkeys that went rabid. I mean, it's cool and everything, but it really doesn't fit with the theme of the movie. It actually takes me right out of the theme of the movie. It really was random, and I understand how it played out to the rage that Roy, the main character, is feeling, played by Brad Pitt, and the rage that he can relate to his father, and the rage that he feels with space expedition, and the rage that he feels with the distance from his father, and relating Earth to the cosmos. I mean, but it's, the metaphor is just taken way too action movie. I just don't like it. I just don't see it as a fit. It just really took me out of the film, and like that snippet could have literally been cut from the film, and the film would have been spot on, like perfect. They just like it seems so out of place. It seems so out of place. It bothered me for that specific reason. But anyways, they get to Mars, and Brad Pitt is off to this really gorgeous looking room. It's a red room basically, that's all silenced, so with a little microphone in the center of it, and he is asked to send a message to his father, and he does. But the message that he sends, he starts to really get personal about, and he really gets deep and really sends a heartfelt message, which wasn't really in the books of what they asked him to do, because all they wanted to do was him to make contact with his father. But like, that's kind of dumb too. Why would you get the son to send a message to his father and not expect him to, be emotionally connected with his dad that has been missing for years, decades, literally? But he does, and then they get sketched out, and then they say that they're gonna send him back to Earth, but only when he's calmed down, and because they need a psychological evaluation on him before they can send him back to Earth, which is absolutely realistic. The way they play out these psyche tests with these astronauts and space travel and stuff like that, how in depth they have to go with their psychological evaluations, definitely makes sense. I mean, the idea of space travel scares the shit out of me. The idea of flying scares the shit out of me. I can't imagine being shot up to the moon or Mars, but anyway. So he starts to ask questions, basically. He meets this character named Helen Lantos, who basically had her parents as well on this Lima Project ship, and this woman shows him a video clip, which is one that she personally had, and one of the only ones that hasn't been kind of hidden by this spacecom industry. And it's a clip of his father basically murdering the crew for turning their back against him because he wanted to keep going forward, and this crew was already losing their minds by the time they got to Neptune. And psychologically, things just started to escalate. So Brad Pitt takes it upon himself to say fuck it, basically, and he sneaks into the ship to just go to Neptune with the crew that was sent, which was their mission to go to Neptune, and Brad Pitt was going to go along with them until he was denied because of his psychological evaluation, and he just takes it upon himself to basically sneak on the ship. And his sneaking on the ship is a little bit far-fetched, but at the same time it's very cinematic, and the cinematography, like I said, is beautiful with it. So putting far-fetchedness aside, I mean, it's a fucking sci-fi movie, for God's sakes. He sneaks onto the ship, and he unfortunately has a battle with the crew, and he does what he has to do, but he makes it to Neptune, which, you know, a 79-day trip takes 45 seconds, maybe. And he gets to Neptune, and then it's from there. It's the third act, and the third act is, I believe, it's 35 minutes total or so. And I'm telling you, the dialogue between him and Tommy Lee Jones is Oscar worthy. Performances, just like, imagine not seeing one of your closest family members for decades and then seeing them again, except instead of on Earth, it's some billion miles away, you know. And his father is just, he's not him, like he's not the same man. Brad Pitt is going to see his father, but his father is a stranger. Like, there's even a quote that he says, I don't know if I hope to find him or finally be free of him, because basically his father is just a ghost to him, and he has no, all he has is memories on this guy, and once he gets there and he finally sees him, it's such a powerful moment. I mean, there's even scenes where he reaches out his hand, and like Tommy Lee Jones is kind of like this kind of thing, because I mean, Tommy Lee Jones has been living on a ship by himself for years. He hasn't had human contact or contact with another person, and he's so gung-ho on finding intelligent life. That's all he lives for. There's even a moment where he says, you know, I didn't care about you, I didn't care about your mother, all I cared about is science. I had my destiny. And then the scene where it gets outside of the ship and they're tied to each other, and Tommy Lee Jones presses the button on the remote to launch himself into outer space, and he kind of pulls Brad Pitt with him, and Brad Pitt is trying to pull him back, and he's just like, let go, son, just let go, just let go. Kind of made me cry. I mean, it's such a moment with this film. In the first act and the third act. The second act is just kind of like a bridge to get there, but the first act and the third act are just so beautiful. And like I said about the narration, I think it's just done a little too much, because it's not that it's bad. It's just overdone. Because if it was just cut back a little bit, the narration is beautiful. Especially all the narration in the third act of the film is beautiful. This is a film that I have to see on IMAX or on 4K whenever I get a 4K player and TV. But this is one of my favorite films of 2018. Like, this is one of the most underrated films, and don't let Brad Pitt fool you if you think Brad Pitt is just the pretty boy that plays in every Hollywood film. No, this is something special and unique. This is directed by James Gray, which I am not too familiar with. but I know he is enough of a name. Like I can't name you another film of his, but I've heard the name James Gray before. And Liv Tyler is also in here, actually. She's a very minor role, but I believe that Liv Tyler is in here too. Yeah, she is. Like I said, very minor role. But Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and Brad Pitt as the lead. I mean, it's such a good film. They consider it a psychological drama, which is probably the best way to describe it. And my God, like, if you liked Gravity, this is Gravity with a way deeper story. I would say Gravity is more breathtaking in the cinematography and in the visuals. Gravity wins in the visuals, hands down. But the visuals in here are also insanely good, and the story just bar none with this one. Like Gravity had a story to kind of wrap everything up. This one, like, with the dialogue and the script, my God, just unbelievable stuff. But that's Ad Astra. Literally, go check it out if you haven't. This is a spoiler review, so I really hope you've already seen this before watching this video. But, I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. And if you don't, like, I say spoilers right at the beginning. Maybe I should start the videos and actually say this is a spoiler video. But I put it on the title, so I assume that everybody knows it's a spoiler video. But, yeah, Ad Astra 2018, directed by James Gray, starring Brad Pitt. Go check it the fuck out. Honestly, it's so freaking good. And that's it for today. I'm going to be back with more reviews. That's my Cellar review. Check out my other series that are coming out. Like, I put up, you know, B movies. I review all kinds of movies. One of my favorites being horror, but I review all kinds of movies on this channel. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like what you see, and I will see you next time. Cheers. Take care.